Two parallel ceasefires in Gaza by Israel and Hamas seem to be holding, according to Christopher Gunness, the spokesman of the UN humanitarian agency in Gaza known as UNRWA. He says there is evidence of an Israeli Defense Forces withdrawal and the Hamas rockets have stopped. But for the agency to be able to resume its full-scale operations of feeding 750,000 people and providing health care to 1 million people, Mr. Gunness told UN Radio's Patrick Maigua that the crossings into Gaza must be reopened as demanded by the UN Secretary-General.
Before June 2007, there were on average about 475 trucks a day. That's in total for the international community. Now there's around 100 a day. So I think it's clear that we have to get the crossings properly open so that we can get fuel, we can get food supplies in industrial quantities to get on with the huge task ahead of us.
Have all the crossings been opened?
No, and we're being forced to use mainly the Kerem Shalom crossing point, which as far as we're concerned is a hopeless bottleneck. It's an industrial scrubland area where we have to take pallets of goods and dump these pallets in open ground, let them in on the Israeli side in the morning, then the gate goes up on the Palestinian side in the afternoon and the trucks come in and pick them up. That is wholly unsatisfactory. What we want is the Karni transshipment point for industrial quantities of, for example, wheat grain to go in, and we need the Nahaloz transshipment point for industrial quantities of fuel to go in. Only if that can happen can we really get our operation up to the scale we need it to be at.
Now, how are Palestinians rebuilding their lives?
They've been subjected to 3 weeks of aerial bombardment. There have been rockets, there's been a ground offensive, and they're traumatized, they're terrorized, and until now they've been trapped because they had nowhere to flee. UN schools, UN reception centers were coming under direct attack from the Israeli army. There was nowhere safe in Gaza. We least had hope now with the ceasefire coming into effect that there is somewhere safe for them to go. But imagine in our school in Beit Lahia just a few days ago, there was a direct hit on the 3rd floor of our school. A mother in front of her very eyes had 2 of her children, a 5 and a 7-year-old, killed. She lost both her legs and is now a double amputee. Well, imagine the psychological scars that that person is going to be enduring for the rest of their life.
You talked about the bombing of UN facilities. Now with the ceasefire in place, are you getting any explanation from the Israeli Defense Force as to why the UN facilities were targeted?
Well, on the ground, we're getting factual information from the Israeli army, and they have admitted fully that there were not militants in our compound in Gaza City or in our compound in Jabalia, which came under white phosphorus attack. So we're getting honest explanations and disclosure on the ground. And we've also had apologies. The Secretary-General himself had an apology from the Israeli Prime Minister. But what we've said is we want an investigation. And where you have a situation where United Nations compounds with hundreds and hundreds of displaced people in them come under direct attack, there has to be an investigation to see if a war crime has been committed.
What are the immediate needs for the Palestinians in Gaza right now?
They have to be absolutely sure that the fighting has stopped. That's number one priority. There will be a huge pressure, I think, for people to get back to their homes. Already overnight, between 5,000 and 6,000 people left our shelters to go and see what the situation was with their homes. Many of those returned because their homes are either destroyed or uninhabitable. So, of course, we have to try and restore normal life. That's a huge thing to say because the public health infrastructure has been very badly damaged, sewage, water, electricity. And beyond that, we've got to get people, eventually we've got to get children back to school because it mustn't be forgotten amid all the talk of bombs and rubble and ceasefires that we're a human development agency. We educate 200,000 children in Gaza. We have microfinance projects to try and give people an escape from the poverty trap. We have a whole range of human development activities, and they have got to be started as well. So a vast range of tasks for UNRWA today in Gaza.
Christopher Gunness,